there's more opinion, outlets of opinion, opinion, even if sometimes there are certain keywords, but the overall thrust of Chinese development is more freedom of expression, more ability of the middle class. Who just in another city a while ago, they stuck petrochemical, multi-billion-dollar petrochemical plant. Where in other countries you'd have to go to court. If you want to stop me, you go to court. Let the court stop it. Let's fight in the court. Here, public opinion. No, they ignore. And the Communist Party leadership, the local leader, afraid that they might be represented by Beijing for not managing this local protest, gave in. So we have several cases. This really struck me because this is not possible in rules-based democracies. It happened. They stuck multi-billion-dollar project because a few thousand middle class, most of them are middle class, are scared that they will cause cancer, petrochemical PX, plastics, things. They're able to. So China is in land of contradiction. You can see the Communist Party, but on the other hand, the people have more freedom that sometimes are unimaginable in certain cases, even in the democratic. So it is that's how China is. It's difficult to define it, but that's how it is going on. The dynamic of public opinion has changed with the advent of the internet, yet the internet changed a lot. And the rise of the middle class will not just, they have higher expectations. This is the Communist Party. It will force the Communist Party to reform itself even more. How? We don't know yet. But it will force the party to become more sophisticated. If it wants to maintain its power, it has to be more sophisticated, accommodating public demands. And we will see more and more of that. On the system level, let's see, it's a process. But in actuality, if people really are so concerned about certain issues, they win. They really did. They did. The middle generation case.
Okay, your turn now.
My question is very simple. Before I go to that, I'd like to mention that the anti-Japan protest was tolerated because it's against Japan and not against China.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But anyway, my simple question is, other than the bananas, what else can we sell them? Knowing that they already invaded our islands as bullies.
We have a lot. We are a tropical country. They have, even just banana alone, we are talking 1.3 billion. And a banana would easily sell in my place 12 pesos per banana, Just giving 1 billion people banana once a year is good enough. But we have products, tropical products, of course, not something that China had, because we don't have much tropical areas. But again, here we come. The cost of labor in China is rising. And that's why you heard of the Bangladesh fire, where the thousand people, workers died in that building. It reflects the trend because of rising labor costs. Manufacturers are shifting to cheap labor, and the Bangladesh one. Now, what does it mean? It means that with rising income and labor standard, the Chinese can afford more expensive. Our bananas are expensive in China. They can afford it. We were talking here of rising income, so these are opportunities for us. Of course, it's a competitive global economy, so we really have to discover what we are strong at in terms of producing it in the most cost-effective way that can compete in the Chinese market. But there is no question that in our trade relationship, for example, the Philippines has the surplus.
In case of manufacturing things, we can't forget about that.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
We have to solve our certain infrastructure problem. Our energy cost is high. It's 3 times. We cannot produce competitively goods if the cost of energy is high. So we have to solve that. We have to do our homework. Of course, we can also criticize China or certain things, but the best strategy is, first of all, do our homework. Do what we have to do that we can become a more competitive nation. So that requires political reform in our country. Ending monopolies, letting energy production to find the proper equilibrium, pricing, so that we can have energy input is important in any production, is important. So that's one example I see. I mean, China is an important, it's a threat, but it is also an opportunity. China is always a contradiction.
I don't see how it is an opportunity. I don't see how.
Yeah. Well, it remains to be seen. If we can have a breakthrough in our relationship, probably we'll have more opportunity. So we are caught in that impasse, the diplomatic impasse, how to break out of it. I think we share that same desire, to break out of it so that we can have a more normal relationship.
Let's go to Imelda.
I was just wondering about censorship of the social media and media in general, because I've heard that China blocks certain sites like Facebook, and I wondered if NBC was ever blocked in broadcasting anything, like by the Chinese government.
NBC?
Yeah, by your media.
Yeah, well, we don't broadcast to the China market, so we are not really seen by the Chinese audience, so to speak. But as again I mentioned, if we have sensitive stories, if we have to send sensitive video, and we go through the government, the only monopoly vendor of satellite service is Chinese government, then they will not allow. For example, we want to send, you remember the iconic picture of the tank, of the young man in front of the tank during the Tiananmen massacre? That is a sensitive example of sensitive video. We will not be able to send that through the government satellite service. They will block it. They will say, oh, there was a technical problem. But CNBC.
Every time the speaker comes up, there's a technical problem. I don't know what happened.
Technical problem. Laughing at me. They use that. But you know, CNBC, however, our sister company, is a business. So sometimes they are seen in China. They have a so-called landing rights. You have to buy landing rights to be able to broadcast foreign programs. So CNBC is there, so it can be seen. But all with the CNBC or CNN or Al Jazeera or NSK, they have a system where the live broadcast is actually delayed by 10 seconds before it gets broadcast to China through the subscribers. Because that 10 seconds, we allow the monitors, it's sensitive, cut it, so that you don't see the live broadcast actually delayed, so that when it gets to your home, the TV suddenly becomes dark. Until the picture of maybe Dalai Lama or some dissidents, and then when the video is over, okay, go again. Then the picture comes back, but there's a little dark, a few seconds of black.
10 seconds.
So they have this technical means of trying to monitor and censor. That's going on.
So that's the government that edits out the sensitive.
Sensitive picture. Japan, Taiwan, Dalai Lama, dissident, human rights issues, they do have that. On the technical side, social media, of course, is not as easy. Because sometimes the trending, the millions of traffic, before they realize, oh, they have to cut. Sometimes there's a delayed reaction. The social media is very real time. It's difficult to monitor it. They see the trend. Of course, they have massive personal monitoring. They do have that from time to time, but it's less policed. But again, it's heavily policed because the portals are supposed to be doing self-censorship. They will be penalized. Sometimes they will be suspended. So their license to run, if they made the mistake of allowing certain things that need to be self-censored to spread out. So there's that system. So they maintain that control. Good, bad is happening. That's China. In other words, they allow what is good, not so threatening, but otherwise they maintain their control as well. So that's going on. But overall, if you see the trend of China, you can predict that maybe in the future there will be even more changes. We don't know. But they will become more sophisticated. Remember, from a no-zero user to the number 1 billion internet users. That's how the China. So we can only expect more changes going on. We don't know how it will in specific terms. I can only anticipate China will become even more open in terms of information. But the party itself will become even more sophisticated as a response to that more open. So it's a contradiction always.
Do you know anything about the Falun Gong? The Falun Gong.
The Falun Gong is still subject of censorship and suppression. Still is. Because the main author of the suppression of the Falun Gong is still alive. He's Jiang Zemin, still senior leader of the Falun Gong. There's no way of trying to reverse the con. So maybe Falun Gong may be reversed later on, I don't know, 10 years maybe, or even maybe the Tiananmen verdict will be reversed. We don't know. It's an ongoing issue. It's not dead.
Let's have John.
Okay.
Eric, thank you for a fascinating presentation.
Thanks.
Excellent. And your description of the Communist Party as being sort of an adaptive, responsive dictatorship, it's very interesting. It's not a static dictatorship. In terms of the relationships between the Philippines and China, the idea that China wants to see you as a friend, not a threat, I get the impression that the US maybe is the big problem with the Philippines.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
Because if you were alone, maybe they would see you as being a friend and everything would be okay.
Yeah, right.
So I guess you would interpret Obama's pivot in negative terms.
Yeah, I think that the challenge of the Philippines is how to identify interests independent of the U.S. strategy. That's it. Right now, maybe the political situation in the Philippines is not right for that. You know, the equation, the dynamic, the power balance is not right for that. Because it is a fact that we have close relationship with the U.S. Politically, culturally, strategically, there's something that's hard to sort out. There's something else. It's really a call for the leadership. But maybe it can also be a function if there's a better relationship with the U.S. and China, less adversarial, then maybe there will be more leeway for U.S. partners like the Philippines to have its own way of dealing with China in a way that's more distant from the U.S. Strategic scheme. So we don't know. So I'm just posing the issue because that is, whether we like it or not, we just have to address that issue. We don't address that issue, there can be no breakthrough in our relationship. And we cannot sell anything else to the Chinese. Although they're trying to segregate economics, business from politics. But again, in the real world, sometimes it gets affected. So,
I have just another little question. Our friend is a bit negative about the Philippines exporting to China. In East Asia, a lot of trade, in fact, is related to investment. Someone establishes an investment, then you have the trade. Is there any potential for China to invest in the Philippines, invest in natural resources or agriculture or manufacturing?
Yeah.
Can that become the base for export?
right. Oh,
Because China is investing everywhere.
they're trying to invest everywhere, and they're trying to invest in resources, for example. I know some friends trying to invest. China joint partners in developing energy resources in the Philippines. Well, they wanted to invest more. There's some auto assembly plants on that. The Chinese want to invest more. There's no question about it. But the strategic political relationship is not yet there's never been able. If we only solve a breakthrough in that, I'm sure there will be more investment in the Philippines. Right now, because of the dispute, in fact, because of the dispute against the Philippines, in order to just maintain good relations with the ASEAN grouping, the investment of China, our Philippine China dispute, the beneficiary, whether you like it or not, is Malaysia, Indonesia. That's where the money is going, because the Chinese want to prove with money that they mean friendship and we want to benefit the.
If I could just make a final comment. I come from Australia.
Yeah.
And Australia is the biggest national recipient of Chinese investment in the world, even bigger than the US.
Yeah.
And this last decade we had a big boom of Chinese investment. At the beginning everyone was nervous. And the Chinese were a little bit awkward at first. But over time, we're getting used to the Chinese, they're getting used to us, and the relationship is actually quite good now.
Mm-hmm. True.
So
Australia
learn with time.
There's a great example. An example of how to mean the Philippines. The Australian example can prove that we can maintain close relations with the US, and yet have good relations with China. That is, I don't know if we can do that.
Because I did, that would have been ideal.
Yeah.
Because then right from the beginning you said, it's very hard, and still is, China doesn't practice believing in the rule of law.
The rule of
You know
law.
that, and they still do.
Yeah, right.
Therefore, if we have any agreements with them, as we have agreements with some of our islands, it's not, you know, it's like it does not exist.
Right.
You will just go ahead and own it.
I'm sure it's a very good point. Our London, the Philippines, and Beijing's been arguing about this, you know, rules-based and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But the Chinese have their own interpretation of the law. That's where the problem is. You know, we cannot accuse them not